Shall we begin?
Why not? Welcome to FrankieSense and More. It's like she's got a whole lot of goodness for you with a little bit of sass.
Frankie, did you just say?
She sure did. Not to mention, along with...
Whoops.
Join us now as Frankie Picasso and her new co-host mix it up with authors, musicians, and interviews with world-changing people.
Let's begin now.
Okay, let's begin now, because it only makes sense.
Well, hello there, and welcome to FrankieSense and More. Wow. Today in our house, we have the award-winning author, Rachelle Dekker. She's the eldest child of best-selling author Ted Dekker. She doesn't even need that anymore. She's definitely graced with the writing gene because she's back here for the fourth time on FrankieSense with an amazing new book, When Through Deep Waters. It's a psychological, supernatural suspense story. And Rachelle, I'm so pleased for you that you won a Christie Award for The Chosen, the SEER Series, and you followed The Chosen, or the Choosing or The Chosen? I can't. The Choosing. I always get, yeah. I'm sorry. The Choosing, no, which was followed up by The Calling and The Returning. You graduated with a degree in communications, and you spent several years in marketing and corporate recruiting before making the transition full-time to writing. And you live in Nashville. You still live there with your husband, Daniel, and your diva cat, Blair. Now, what I was just looking back, and I think I was your first interview.
You may have been.
Actually. And it was 2015.
Yes.
Since 2015, you have written 4 books. Holy crap, woman.
Yeah. Well, technically 3, because The Choosing was already out. So,
okay. But The Choosing was still published in 15, right?
It was. Right.
Yeah. So, but 3 books in 3 years. That's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah. I need a vacation. Apparently.
You know, as you know that I've read all your dad's stuff. And this book, while a departure from the series, the SEER series, which is a dystopian, set in a dystopian kind of, time and place, this is psychological and it's a thriller, and I'm not saying you're copying at all. There's a feeling of the Dekker gene runs through these, with the water and the voices and the kids and all of that. And I just wondered, like, did you guys sit around, the dinner table and years ago and just, talk about these themes or anything?
Not really. I mean, my dad always talked about the struggles and themes that he was writing about, because, that's kind of the way that he found a lot of healing through his questioning was through writing. I think that's something a lot of, especially I would say redemptive writers have in common, and probably all writers. I mean, you get faced with something you can't really explain or you don't really understand, and what better way and safer way to really explore that than to create a character who's facing the same challenge and kind of take them through, the bowels of hell, so to speak. And so there was always lots of discussion around what he was writing about. But I think with the similarities in When Through Deep Waters and some of his other stuff, that was really intentional on my part. The dedication in the front of the book is to Ted. And it, is to his discovery of diving deep and the creation of the Roush, which are the little white bats that are really famous in the Circle series. And so I kind of wanted to do a nod to him with some of my favorite elements that he's played with: the drowning, the water, the children, kind of.
That's awesome.
He's spent so much time building up this legacy, and I thought I could just try and totally be different from that and distance myself. But why, when he's done such a great job and he's worked so hard? And I think parents do that for their kids. Try to build a legacy, something that their kids can benefit from. So I just jumped in and I was like, you know what? People are going to compare us anyways. So I'm going to make it obvious. I did this intentionally. I'm not trying to stray away from the fact that my writing genes in a large part come from the fact that I grew up in Ted Dekker's house.
Right.
And I was just massively influenced by all of his work.
Yeah. Well, you're very close. I think you're very close
We're
to
very
your dad.
close.
Yeah. And, I love that. And I think that this nod to him, and that, you say, yeah, it was intentional. And if you're a Ted Dekker fan like I am, you get it and you see it.
Yeah.
And if you're not, well, it doesn't mean much, right?
Right.
But yeah, I think it's really cool that you can pick up on that. And Myra is here, and I'm just going to introduce her because I want her to feel free to jump in, and I think you'll see why in a minute. Hi, Myra. Do you have voice now?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Awesome, my God, what was that?
Woo. So I just want to introduce you, and then I'm going to go back to Rachelle. But you're a motivational speaker, you're an author, and a personal development strategist for women, and I love that. And you've been changing this past year from a relationship, coach working with your husband Ken, to being a solo artist and just recreating yourself.
Absolutely.
And your goal is now to assist women that are stuck between their todays and their mothers yesterday. And I think that's really cool. And to help them grow past the last unfortunate experience that they've had through workshops and webinars and one-on-one coaching. But you also have a new radio TV series called Hindsites 2020 with Myra.
Yeah.
And I think as you listen to Rachelle talk a little bit about this book, I think you're going to see why there's some symmetry here.
Okay.
And why I invited you to come on. In this book, in Rachelle's latest book, it's about a woman who maybe drank a little too much and had a little girl, and she was busy, and doing stuff, and her little girl drowned in a pool, and she was what, 6?
Yeah.
6 years old.
6 or 7,
And threw mommy for a loop. Dad left, the relationship split up, and she went to spend time in a what would you call it, a facility?
Yeah, I mean, she kind of returns back to her childhood home, like the place where she grew up.
Prior to that, though, did she go to a facility and then got let out, and then she goes, I think I'm going to go to my old childhood home?
Yeah, before that, she kind of dealt with some depression, a failed suicide attempt, kind of really had hit rock bottom.
Yeah. And so then she went back to this town where she had kind of grown up, and to her best friend, and she moved into her best friend's house. She hadn't seen her friend for, I don't know, 20 years maybe, or something like that. But she moved into her home and started to hear and see certain things. I'm not going to give away your whole book. I don't want to do that. That's what makes interviewing authors who are fiction authors a little more difficult, because you don't want to give away anything. At the same time, you want to talk about the book because it's so cool, right? Yeah. But it really is a woman who's trying to redeem herself in some ways. She thinks she's guilty as all hell, and so she's feeling this oppressive guilt, and doesn't know if she should feel better, really. Does she deserve to feel better?
Absolutely. Yeah. That coincides a whole lot with your book, Rachel, because that's what we do every day. We are afraid to feel good about going forward and ourselves. We think that our happiness is only connected to somebody else that we're helping, not just to us alone. So, there are some things I've learned, and I teach the ladies to do that I do myself. Just so that I can feel a sense of my own appreciation. But it's a fear. It takes courage. You've been told to help everybody, but never are you told to help yourself.
Yeah.
So it's a struggle. So book sounds exciting.
It's definitely a ride.
Yeah, it is. How long did it take you to write that?
Probably from conception to finish about 7 months. So, I mean, there was a lot of reworking and editing on the back end, but I usually aim for like 6 or 7 months. But I knew I wanted to do something that was a little bit more mature in theme, and I'm getting ready to become a mother for the first time.
Congratulations!
6 weeks. I'm so close. Thank you. And so I really wanted to deal with or add kind of elements of like mommy shaming in this book, because there's so much of it. And I think as mothers, which I haven't experienced myself, but a lot of my close friends, I've witnessed them, my own mother, where there's this like unrealistic expectation on women to be perfect for their kids and for their kids to be perfect, and their kids are a reflection of them, and
Yeah.
our whole worlds are supposed to be wrapped around them, and somehow we're supposed to magically know how to do everything when we've never raised humans before.
Absolutely.
It's true.
It's a lot. Or when you're trying to raise multiple humans at one time, and they all have, you know, different quirks and personalities, and it's just a crazy, there's just so much shame and guilt.
There is. You know, my daughter-in-law just had a baby in July, so I had a new granddaughter. And thank you. And you know, just even around breastfeeding, like she, you know, the baby actually got stuck. She's very tiny, and it got stuck in the pelvic bone. So she was in labor for a long time, and then they said, you know what, we got to do it cesarean. So there's shame in that, because everybody else had it vaginally, right? And then you know, the breastfeeding, the baby didn't want to latch on properly. She still pumped and fed breast milk, but you know, she could bottle feed for a little bit. And then as she calmed down and things felt better, she went back to breastfeeding, and now she's breastfeeding. But there's shame in not breastfeeding. There's shame in that it hurts, and maybe I don't want to do this. And all my other friends are doing it. You know, so there's a lot of guilt and shame around what's going on in today's society.
You know, are you going to use a daycare? Are you going to use a nanny? Are you going to vaccinate? Are you not going to vaccinate? Are you, I mean, and everyone has an opinion, and everyone means well. I mean, not everyone. Most people mean well.
The funniest, and I don't know if your mom's going to be like me, probably will, but you know, they go, oh, well, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to kiss the baby. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. And here's the sanitizer, and you have to wash your hands, you know, when you come in and all that. And I'm like, I did raise 3 of you. You're all alive today. I think it's going to be okay. And they're like, well, things are different now. We know more. And I'm like, do we really?
Yeah.
You know, or is it just
really no more
new stuff, and we're going to try it this way now? But because, and then the stuff, like the baby's crying. I said, put her on her stomach. Oh, you're not allowed to put her on her stomach. I said, put her on her stomach. She's going to feel a little better. You put her on the stomach. She stops crying. She goes, oh,
that works.
Oh, it works. You know, I said, you don't have to go away. You can watch her while, you know, a little bit. But it just, they go, you're not allowed to do that. I love the allowed part. And you know, but moms have been doing that for generations. And so, maybe they know a little bit more about SIDS and things like that. But at the same time, mothering's mothering, and you figure it out as you go. Like you're right. There is we don't come with a manual to know exactly how to do it. We have a cry baby. Nobody said that was going to happen. You know, I remember coming home the first day with my son, and I bathed him, and I looked at my mom. I go, I have to do this every day. That's a lot of work. You know? It felt like a lot of work.
It's crazy. It's a trial and error. I think when my son was born, I did not bathe him for a year. And the reason I didn't do that, I wiped him off, but I wouldn't bathe him. In 2 months, he got pneumonia. I felt so guilty. I felt that I did something wrong. And they had to tell me, get away from him. He's going to be okay. And it was a small patch of infection, but 2 months, you know, and I could only just see his eyes. So I thought, because I bathed him, I put him in a little bucket, that I did it. So I would just put him in a, no, I put him in bathtub, but then I would just put him in just sponge him off.
Bath. Yeah.
And I just gave him a sponge bath. So my grandmother said, "Did you bathe him?" And I was like, well, yeah, I wipe him off, but I had just, and that was my first child, only child actually, but I was so afraid.
Yeah.
Because I did not know what to do. And so, you know, and my mom she knew, but, you know, who's going to tell you, Mom? Well, Mom, I feel bad because I did this. So, you know, it's the process, and you learn. But right now, then I got to the point where I threw him in the tub and let him go for himself at some point. So you do learn. You know, you do learn.
I was told you're not allowed to bathe them anymore for like 3 or 4 weeks or something. I'm like, I didn't know that. It's like crazy. It's all kinds of crazy stuff now. But you know what? I think you do what you do, and everything is right. As a mom, everything's right. So congratulations. I think it's really exciting.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad that you put that theme in there, because a lot of people, you know, suffer with it. Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Absolutely.
So are you going to take like the next year off and not write?
Oh no. No, that's not, I should maybe. Someone will tell me, surely someone will comment later, you should take a year off and spend it with your baby. I work from home, so I will strap him to my chest in my little baby Bjorn, and I will write anyways. I've just finished a novel actually that will be coming out next year, which I can't talk about. But and I am in the throes of jumping right into the next one.
Good.
So
Good for you.
That's good.
Like these ideas are just popping.
well, if I don't do something with them, then I become like a crazy person, and my husband wants me to leave. So
Okay.
you know,
Well, that's amazing. You probably have more books than your dad.
I'm hoping to. That's a real goal of mine. But he keeps writing.
How many books does he have now?
I don't know, like 47.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
A lot of books. And
Yeah.
most are bestsellers. Like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so many of them are. I think at least half of them are bestsellers. And he was going to retire, and then he decided to write 2 more, and now he may be writing another. He doesn't know. He's always retiring. So I'm like, if you could retire for real, I know your fans won't appreciate it, but
No.
I'm never going to be able to write more books than if you don't retire.
Well, yeah, you will. How old was he when he started?
32, I think, just about.
Okay.
Okay.
So I have a couple years ahead of him. I'm a couple years ahead, but not many.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and there were years, I mean, like, oh my gosh, through the 2000s where he was writing like 3 books a year. I mean, he's a maniac. So
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But a good maniac.
but a good maniac.
Wonderful gift to have.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful gift. It's a wonderful gift. I wish I could write fiction, and maybe one day I will when I retire.
Yeah.
But I write nonfiction. So yeah, it's but fiction is a special genre for sure. And you have to be super creative, and you certainly have that going for you. Wow.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, I love it. I'm so excited. I don't know if you heard, but on Rachelle's first book, I was her first interview. And I just think it's so cool that now, we've graduated to visual, and
Yes.
here you are on this show. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I want to talk about rediscovering the truth. The theme in all of your books has really been remembering and forgetting, remembering and forgetting, and remembering. You're the light of the world, Matthew 5:14. Finding freedom from condemnation. What does that mean to you?
Whew. All right. That's a question. I mean, I think really it is, for me, the further I get in this journey of life, the more I discover that everything kind of boils down to fear or love. And there are always 2 paths, and it is always your choice.
Right.
Nobody, I personally don't believe anybody forces you to choose fear or to choose love. You always get to, even when it seems impossible. And so rediscovering you are the light of the world is, for me, remembering that light is the same as God is the same as love. They are all different words to describe the same incredible, being that is Christ. And in Christ, there is no fear. So when I remember that I am a part of Christ, that I am the light of the world, called by him, that is my identity, then to do things out of fear is to forget what my identity is. Because in my identity, there is no fear. There is only love. There is only light. And so it seems very simple, because it is, but it's incredibly difficult to, execute, especially in a world like today, where it feels like there is fear everywhere, constantly being reminded, to us no matter what network show you're watching, Fox or NBC, there's just like so much fear. A lot of fear, mongering, a lot of shame, and everything's really just fear, shame, guilt.
People lash out like Trump did the other night, against Ford, Lazy Ford. That's just him being insecure. Right.
And there's a lot of fear here. So how do I then, in a world of fear, as a woman, getting ready to, raise a child for the first time, being, in a marriage, dealing with other girlfriends who are all on different journeys, how do I choose love over fear? And so that's kind of the constant journey that I find myself returning back to with these characters.
Yeah.
Because I just don't really know if there's another journey. Absolutely.
You know, it's interesting you talk about that because actually Myra and I were talking about that yesterday about consciousness, and you can call it God, or you can call it Jesus, or you can call it spirit, or whatever you want to call the universe. It's the same thing. And this enlightening, this journey towards enlightenment, towards consciousness, and the lessening of fear is really to just give yourself over and know that that's your co-creation partner. You know, God is your co-creation partner or spirit. And I'm just going to say, okay, we're partners. You've got this part of it, and I'm going to do my part, and I'm just going to give it over to you, and things are going to go, you know, hunky-dory, right? That's the remembering, to remember to do that. And when you can do that from your heart, they're saying you're moving from third dimension over to the fifth. And you know, people are waking up. Some are third, some are fourth, some fewer in fifth. But as you move towards the fifth, which is the heart-centered dimension, that's where we need to go. And people are waking up, and in that waking up is a lot of fear, chaos, you know. But those who are awakening, like yourself, and you're writing about this, you're reminding people, you're reminding them, oh yeah, there's another choice, and I can choose to have that co-creation partner, and I don't need to have the fear, because whatever's going to happen, even if I die, whatever's going to happen, I'm going to a better place. Right? I'm going to the other place. You know, and so that's exciting, really. And I think that's today's message for people, is this consciousness, raising your consciousness, raising your vibration, raising all of that, so that you can help other people on that journey. And if they're not ready, then they're not ready, but they'll get to it next lifetime, maybe, or whatever.
Or whatever you believe.
Or whatever you believe.
True. And what you said, Frankie, is so true. It's an exciting space to be in, because you're learning you. And when you're able to learn you realize I'm just never ending. It's always something new about me, new about the creator or the source or whomever you call it that you believe in, that it's just an amazing journey to help you discover the real you, you know? And with women, sometimes we think that, you know, we get married, we have children, we take care of the home, we do all those things, and that's just who we are. But then when you go on that journey, and what you're doing, Rachel, with your book, and what's all in you, and what's coming out, and what's being shown to the world, it's kind of like, wow, that's actually a part of you that you were called to bring out for all the rest of us to be able to enjoy and to view. So it's just never ending. It's just never ending. That higher consciousness is never ending.
And I truly believe that part of higher consciousness is helping other people. Like, it has to be the component of it. It's not just about me. It has to be about you. And this idea that of fear, and we're afraid of ourselves. We're afraid to go inside and really look at who we are. And that's so crazy when you think about, why do I fear myself? Why do I fear me?
Well, I think we attach so much purpose and meaning to the roles that we play, to mother, sister, wife, daughter, which are really all just roles that we're playing in life. I mean, at the end of the day, beautiful, amazing. I mean, I'm blessed to be all of those things, even when they're hard, but they're still just roles. My being a daughter, or if I had been born a son, would not change that I'm the light of the world. It wouldn't even affect it. I mean, that's a totally separate core, system of who I am. And then I've come into life to, experience polarities and remember who I am at my core. And so, but we place so much attachment on these roles that we play. So when you get inward really deep and you say, oh, wait, my femininity does not define me, that's terrifying. Because I've lived my whole life trying to protect my femininity, trying to, be less or more than, or live up, or, define it a certain way, that now you're saying it doesn't actually matter. Like it's not really a part of who I am in my core of cores. It doesn't affect whether or not I am the light of the world. and then when you see yourself that way, then you have to see everybody else that way too, which is even scarier, because now you're saying, oh, this whoever, insert name, that I attest, he or she is also the light of the world. So, and we're actually all connected, in, consciousness or spirit, whatever you want to call it, whatever term is most comfortable for you. And letting go of all of those roles and designed agreements we've all made together is terrifying, right?
Yeah.
But incredibly essential to really connect to the core of your source, where you came from, and realize that there isn't any fear there, to really be in love. But I mean, it's it is
that love.
terrifying.
I'm going to tell you, this happened to me 2 weeks ago, and I'm taking the spiritual mastery course, and this happened to me, and it freaked me out, and it was amazing at the same time. And I was in a restaurant, a big restaurant. It was like a buffet restaurant, and my husband had gone up to the buffet, and I was sitting there, and I was thinking about my lessons, and I was thinking about, not having any judgment, and just looking at everybody through love in my heart. And it was incredible. The people went away, but the souls stayed at their tables. And I'm looking around, and I'm seeing souls, and I started to cry, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, you guys are all incarnated with me here right in this very moment. I don't know you, but I love you. And it was like just an incredible experience. I can't even describe it, but it was like, whoa, that never happened before. And they just all, you just saw they're in, like, their soul.
Right.
And it was really amazing, really amazing.
Yeah. And I think in order to change, to change effectively, you can only produce effective change from that place. Because, one of my mottos and favorite sayings that I just kind of repeat to myself is, fear only creates more fear. So if I attack a problem, if I see something that makes me fearful, and I then go at it with more fear, then it just produces itself. So we just end up with fear. You can't fix fear with fear. That doesn't make any sense. So the only way to fix fear is with the opposite, which is love.
Right.
And so you have to approach your enemy with love in order for them not to be your enemy. That's really the only way we'll effectively change our universe.
Absolutely.
And I do actually think, I totally agree with you. I think there is this kind of awakening, and there's kind of this acceptance of the fact that is amongst all of this fear. There's like, okay, we've done the fear for years and years and generations, and it is not working.
Yeah.
So how do we have effective change? Of course, there's still fear there, and there's still going to be loud, fearful voices that come out of that. But there are a lot of people who are like, I think I'm going to choose love in spite of the fact that I feel persecuted. And
you have to stop yourself. Oftentimes, I'll stop myself in the middle of the day and go, why you don't think that way? That's wrong. That's old thinking. That's third dimension thinking. Start thinking from your heart again. And it is a remembering, like, all the time. It's a stop,
all the time.
Re-choose. I'm going to choose this. Take away the judgment. We're not going to judge. They're on their journey. I'm on my journey. And I love that you're talking about, who am I? I'm the light of the world. And in 2003, when I lost everything, and I thought I'd lost my whole identity. I lost my job. I was in the hospital for 6 months. So I lost my job. I got divorced in the hospital. I was in a band. The band came and picked up all their stuff. I was on the Canadian National Dragon Boat team. I was about to go to Shanghai, so I wasn't on the team anymore. And just everything that I thought defined me, mother, drummer, wife, worker, whatever, was gone except for mom. And so you look at yourself, okay, I'm none of those things. Who am I? And if I had known I was the light of the world, like I said, you're the light of the world. But I had to go through this dark night of the soul thing to kind of figure out who I am. And that was intentional I know that was intentional by God to do that.
Absolutely.
But not many people have that experience where everything is wiped away. But it was amazing at the same time. And I never questioned why me. Never once did I say, why me? Now, Myra, I know that you're working with women who are going, why me, a lot.
Yes, yes, yes. They, the women that I work with, they have a preconception of this fairy tale of what life is. And when they find out it's not that, they go down a spiral of hopelessness. And trying to get them understand is what Rachel was saying, that you are more than just a mom, a wife, and a daughter or sister. That feminine part of you is a goddess. There is a tremendous part of you that is so amazing that it's unbelievable. That's why you can be a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a wife, because before all of that, you were this epitome of femininity, of a goddess. And then again, ladies, I come from a culture that's totally different, and they are so ingrained in a different kind of ideology. And sometimes you stop at the water's edge of what's worst. And I'm trying to say, don't stop at the water's edge of what's worst. What happened to your mom? What happened to your dad? What's past that? Sometimes they think, I can only remember my life is stopped at slavery. No, it does not. There is something, don't stop there. Go beyond that and see the magnificence of who the Creator has made you. Where you come from. You didn't come from that. Mm-hmm. So getting that mindset to change and be methodical and intentional is most important. But, in some cases, and that's not a good conversation with some of those that I work with, but I've gotten old enough to realize it doesn't matter. Because when you're called to do something, you say it in love, like you were saying, Frankie, you say it in love, but you say it. Because somebody in the crowd of 10, 20, or 100 needs to hear that. So they can begin to go on their journey. So I talk a lot about, are you on your journey? And I talk a lot about church and God are different.
Yeah.
They are different. Don't equate this constant
the ideology with
I call it the Martha spirit. Don't equate this Martha spirit going with God. Because there's more benefits on this side with God than on the other side. And, so it's just kind of breaking out of that gauntlet of that pre-understanding of what it's about. Just like Rachel was talking about childbirth. Every childbirth is different. One thing my grandmother said, it doesn't matter how you get it, he got to come. He or she is going to come here. No matter how they get here, they're going to come. Right. So it's a different thing. So I work with a lot of ladies, helping them understand that they have more to give the universe as opposed to what they believe. So it can be a challenge sometimes because in some ages and the age group, but that's the crux of my now journey because we were helping couples. And I have to be honest, my husband says, no, not, but we were working with couples and helping them in their marriages and things of that nature, which was great. But my husband kind of got tired of dealing with the men, honestly. He felt that it was kind of hard to get them to get on the track. I was like, well, how do you think we feel? Then if we can't get you to do it. So he kind of backed up from that because it was just a hard vehicle to try to
get tired of
he got tired of it. And they would lie to him and tell him something and they were doing something different. And I'm telling the ladies to do this and try this, but the guys were doing something. So it was just and he has the master's in clinical counseling and psychology. But so then that pushed me, which I know is the universe that says, no, this is where I've always wanted you to go anyway.
Right.
And because women women are the catalyst to a lot of things.
Yeah.
And their household kind of is centered around them, around us. However my attitude is, that's how my home is going to be. So I have to be in line and I have to be in my best space. So
Myra, I want to ask you something. As an African-American woman, what kind of shaming goes on in your culture?
Oh my God. They find shame just with, a lot of times women feel inadequate in the African-American community. I find women feel like their degrees and their status and all those things make them better prospects for life, but then they forget about that personal part. They go home and they're discontent, they're lonely, they're by themselves. Um, they feel shame of the kind of things that their men go through, and that's understandable.
But each other, what would a woman shame another woman about?
Oh, her hair is one thing. Her body is another. You know, you don't have enough this, enough that. Her degree is another thing. And the biggest thing with women in my community is the skin color. That color girl, 5 different shades of an African American woman. But if you were on the lighter side, you were depicted as being a different kind of woman than those that were darker. That's the biggest problem that we have in our community with women. And getting them to understand that it's not your outer color, it's the soul.
And that's similar to the East Indian culture too. The skin color is a caste system as well.
Yeah. So that causes a lot of problem, but that goes back to getting on your journey. Your journey. You can't change your skin color at all. So what you can change is the inner part of you and work through that part and get on your journey, your personal journey. And you'll discover so much that right there wouldn't become an issue. But pulling them away from this organized mindset and coming into a mindset of intention, daily intention, meditation, understanding, realization of where you are, where you came from past your bad experiences is kind of where, you know, we run into that problem. So it's a whole different dynamics.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you come to the same thing. God, source, faith, belief, same thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. You know, it's funny because I had this discussion last night about the American, you know, Native Indian Aboriginal people, and about how, you know, somebody said, well, when's enough? Like they don't, you know, pay taxes. They don't do this. They don't do that. And I go, look what we did to them. Look what we did to these people. Up until even like the mid 70s, almost 80s, we were still castrating them. We were still, you know, giving them, you know, the women and the men, so that they couldn't reproduce it and have more, you know, that line continue, which is horrific. Horrific. And so for somebody to say to me, well, when's enough? Like, when should they give it up?
Yeah, it shows back to the consciousness that you have for other people. You try to see the good in people, and even when you're in conversations, I'm in conversations like that, and people are harping on the other side and what the other side did. I say, well, you know, how long are we going to continue to stay there? You know?
Because it doesn't serve you.
It doesn't serve a purpose. When is enough enough? If you're going to stay there, you're never going to get anywhere. So I guess they can say that on both sides, but at some point, I believe that the universe has given you enough courage to move past some things. We all have had some things we've had to move past, and the universe gives that to you, that strength, that power. You have that power to move past it, whether you call it forgiveness, understanding, or what you call it, but you do have everything. It says, the Bible says, you have everything you need to obtain wealth. Deuteronomy 8:18. If you got that, then use it.
Well, Rachelle, you said that at the top of the show that you get to choose. You get to choose
absolutely
this way or that way, and it's your choice. If you want to choose blame, a lot of people choose blame. You know, they want to blame everybody else because you know, they don't want to understand that they have the power.
Absolutely.
So they give it away with blame.
Absolutely.
And you know, somebody else is directing my life, so I don't have to be responsible. Not true, but they give that away. And it's unfortunately they don't understand that if they had kept that power for themselves, how amazing it would be. So, you know what, I chose wrong. I was wrong. I'm going to choose better next time, and move on. It's to say it's everybody else's fault. I was a slave. My ancestors were slaves once. What does that mean, right? Today.
Yeah, and what were they before slaves? I just, you know, and that's my show Hindsight in 2020 is about, okay, in hindsight, what would you have done? Well, do it now then.
Yeah.
Do it now. If you would have done it at this particular time, then now is a new day, a modern day. God is giving you strength. It's in your mindset. Do it now.
Yeah, I like
Don't
that.
keep going back. Do it now and move forward out of that space. But again, it's about consciousness and it's about courage too, I believe, because you do have to have the courage to move past those things and say that and tell other people, because everybody likes to be in the same pot to say the same, woe is me, chime the bells, woe is me, prepare the funeral. Everybody likes to be in that space, but there's one person that has to come up out of that is like Rachel was saying, that light in that group to say, wow, she did that.
Mm-hmm.
Look what she's doing. And then it starts to open up a little bit for you, I think, so that you can say, well, she did it. Maybe I can do it. Silently, you begin to get on that journey little by little by little. But I just believe our community of people have to start differently because we have this tradition. And breaking that tradition and getting out of that mode is something that we have to do. We just have to do it for generations to come and those that are coming before us, because that's our job. We're here to make a difference, and we can't make a difference when we're in a box.
Right. Yeah. Rachelle, did you like your theme has pretty much been women?
Yeah.
Are you going to continue with that?
Probably.
As a central character? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to give anything away, do you?
Yeah. I mean, I really believe women can change the world. So,
yeah.
I mean, I think they have incredible influence, men too, but on the generation that comes next.
Yes.
Especially just because if you were fortunate enough to be born as a woman in this life and then fortunate enough to become a mother, then you have a unique and incredible opportunity to mold a human in a way that nobody else really does.
Absolutely.
And there are lots of different kinds of mothers, of course. I'm not saying, but if you just get that opportunity to play that role.
Absolutely.
And so if you as a mother teach a human or the several that you have influence over that they are the light of the world first, and that you can always choose love or fear, and they grow up with that instilled young, and then they make those choices. I mean, 10, 20, 15, 100, 200 mothers doing that, and the whole world changes.
Absolutely.
So I think, men are powerful, absolutely, and they have incredible influence in their own right. Absolutely. But as a woman, speaking to my own journey, and to the journey that I will be taking, I think it's amazing to be a woman. And they need these truths, man, because they'll change the world.
My husband said he would never want to come back as a woman. I go, are you kidding me? I only want to come back as a woman.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, I know your dad's parents were missionaries.
Correct.
What was your mother's upbringing like? Like, was she in the house? I mean, did she raise you to be the light? Was this a conversation that you guys had a lot?
Not really. I mean, my mom is amazing. We're very, very close. There are 4 of us, so I'm the oldest of 4. And I don't think these were truths that they knew until probably the last, I'd say like 5-10 years. My dad's really started contending with some of these ideas and kind of looking, that like you said, Myra, this idea of like God is not the same as church, and really finding some struggle with, well, then who is he? And what does this mean? And what is spirit? And who am I then? And he's always questioned those things, but probably 10 years ago. And then, my mom, just heavily influenced by that, started her own journey of, well, then what does that mean for me? And what does that mean for womanhood and being a mother? And she was a stay-at-home mom. And so dealing with all of those, letting go.
Is it all girls? Did she have all girls, or did you have a brother?
No, I have one brother.
One brother. So is everybody gone now?
Yeah, everybody's out of the nest.
Everybody's out of the nest. So is your mom in recreation process? Is she trying to?
She is recreated. My
She's now
mom is
recreated.
recreated. She's no longer, I mean, we're always in the process.
Yeah.
Yes.
But she is like a totally different person than she was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
exciting.
yeah,
It is.
I have so much respect and awe for her because I got to firsthand witness a woman be brave enough to, in her late 40s, be like, this is not enough for me anymore.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
how do I recreate myself, and how do I not judge myself for where for the time where I was, how do I, and it's been incredible. And now she'll get to be a grandma, which feels kind of like a second chance
Yeah.
at mothering differently, and or just, from a place of total love and acceptance. And she's a rock star. Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
It is difficult. I mean, women go through a lot of changes. We have so many changes in every, decade, from the 13-year-old with the budding breasts and the menstruation, to their 20s and in your 30s and know it all, and 40s and 50s going through, physical, emotional changes. And in your 60s and you're aging and you're seeing the wrinkles and everything's falling. It's hard sometimes. And then at the same time you go, I need to be purposeful, and I'm not feeling passionate. Like I went through a period last year where I felt no passion for anything. And that was so unusual for me because I'm always creating something and passionate about what I want to create. And then all of a sudden I couldn't find it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like where's my passion? I need to do something. And I meditated and I prayed and I said, come on, give it back to me. I need to have this. Because I always reinventing myself. I always did, and I always want to. But in there's the emotional and the physical stuff that women go through that men don't have to go through. Our bodies are always against us in some way, shape, or form. It's always too hot or too cold. It's never right. Like it's hard.
Yeah.
It is.
No, it totally is. Pregnancy is a weird thing, and
it's a weird thing.
And men will obviously never go through that, which seems totally unfair.
It does.
It is what it is. So yes, we just have, and men have their unique journeys as well with masculinity, because there are, just like with women, there are all kinds of stigmas that come with masculinity that they're constantly having to battle. Be a provider, don't be emotional. I mean, don't be emotional, but be more sensitive. Yeah, I just don't understand those, obviously, as well.
Right.
So I always write from a place of femininity because it's what I know.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I write for myself first. I mean, that's all we can do, right? We get dealt a deck of cards, and we try and deal with that deck of cards as best we can. And then we throw the deck of cards out, and we start from the beginning, and then we try and teach other people or help other people or add any kind of love or assistance to people, to someone who's having who has a totally different deck of cards than me, actually, who has their own journey and their own experience, but we're just working with what we were given. So
right.
I'm just thinking that I'm wondering if you've ever thought about hosting a support group for
me.
You for women your age.
No, I have never thought of that, but I mean,
can't you see her doing it, Myra? I mean, she's so wise.
I can see her doing it. I can see her doing it. I really can. So many women around your age need that going forward. And that's at hindsight, because where Frankie and I are, we've been through a lot of tumultuous things, ups and downs, and hindsight, because biblically, you guys probably remember where the Bible says it takes the older or to reach down and help the younger.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been my goal, is try to go back and help you, so you don't have to go through some of those things. At least you kind of know they're on the road. Because we're on this journey here, and I might be a little ahead of you, but I know you're behind me. And when you come to the fork in the road, maybe you might want to say, hey, Myra, what did you do when you got here? Well, you got a couple of choices, but let me tell you, you choose this one, this might happen, but it's up to you. So you need, every level of womanhood needs that kind of support. And one thing that I tell my ladies is you know, there's a 26-year-old or a 16-year-old, there's a chair for her.
Yeah.
And then there's a chair for you. And then there's another chair, and that one is 70 or 80. That's the same woman. That's the same Myra. So there are times where if I want to kind of drain or detoxify myself, I'll talk to them and I'll say, okay, are you happy where we are right now? Are you happy those decisions at 16, at 26, I got out of that state and I did something different? And then I listen to the one that's older and says, now look, you know, you need to make sure you got us together when we get up here at 75 years old. You know, don't be, you know, trying to jump off an airplane and all that kind of stuff, you know. So you have those conversations with yourself intuitively to help you kind of bring it all together.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking at 50, 60, 70 years of being on this planet, 80 years or so.
If you're lucky.
That's a lot.
It is. But it's such a short period of time. The older you get, the more you realize it was a blip. It was so fast. Like you want to go back. Like I want to go back. I want to do it again.
I missed something. There was about 25 years I didn't get. How did I skip up here? So
Exactly.
fast? You know, so your age group, Rachel, is able to tell the women, take your time, explore you, get on your journey early.
Yeah.
I got on my journey late, and I wish I'd gotten on it a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wish I did. But
I guess the only thing I would say to you is really enjoy your children. Every single stage of it. You know, I remember wishing it away in some ways. Oh, I can't wait till they can talk. I can't wait till they can walk. I can't wait till we're buddies.
Yeah.
You know, we have this conversation. But like now I look at my granddaughter who's just 2 months old, and like every single stage of her, I get to admire and love. And because I was so busy mothering, I couldn't do that. I had twins, you know, and it was in a like I had 3 kids basically, you know, 18 month and twins. And so it was always just busy. And you didn't really get to just really enjoy that. Sometimes you're just mom mode all the time, but just enjoy it. Every single minute of it.
I'm facing that right now, being pregnant, because I'm not good at it and I don't like it.
Do you feel sick? Are you sick?
I was like
violently sick.
The first 6 months. It's gotten better. I'm on my way to the end. So, but you know, it's just a lot of.
How much more time do you have left?
Well, I'm due early December, but we have very early December. We have very famously early babies in my family.
Okay.
So I'm technically about 8 weeks out, but people are putting money on 6 or 7. So we'll see.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so soon.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, we're having a boy.
Oh, are you? Oh, that's great. Do you know his name?
Yep, Jack Madison.
Oh, I love that name.
Thank you. Thanks. We're very excited. But just like embracing who I am now, pregnant. Because, you know, at this stage, I'm probably not going to do it again. I know everyone always says that, and then they forget and they do it again. But, you know, like.
At that 2-year mark is where you forget.
Yeah. Right now, I'm like, I'm never doing this again. But just like embracing the fact that my body can do this, embracing the fact that it's growing a human, which is like.
It's the most amazing thing.
And like the fact that I'll never hold my son this close again, and I'll never be this attached to him, and he'll forget that I carried him. I mean, he'll know it, obviously, but he'll forget. You know, they say that kids have no sense of self before they're 3 years old. So when they throw timber tantrums at like 2, they're like, I'm so hungry. Why is everybody not hungry? And we get frustrated with them because we're like, we need you to be patient and calm down. It's not time to eat. But they have no sense of separation. And they have no real sense of self at all, apart from the mother, until they're like 2.5 or 3, which is why they say things like hold us or hold you versus hold me. Like they don't have those identifying like descriptor words yet. They learn them last because they just see themselves as attached to you. And I'm like, okay, so eventually he's going to forget that. And he's going to make memories.
No, you know what? It's like my firstborn is a boy. And we're still besties. And still mommy, you know, and he's in his 30s, and you know, my daughter, very independent. She was always very independent from a baby. Like when I'm tired, I'm going to bed. The boys, no. You have to sit and stroke and do all this stuff. It was all ceremony with them, right? But it's interesting how they are, and you know what? It's a very special bond.
Yeah, it is very special, but each part of it is unique. So I'm trying to be like, okay, this is the only moment I have right this minute.
Yeah.
Actually, the future isn't here. The past is gone.
Yeah.
So the only thing that exists is now. And right now I'm really, really pregnant. And it's really uncomfortable. But
How is Stan taking it?
Yeah, I'm going to love this as much as I will when I'm not, because then I won't be this again. And so, dealing with all of those things, I think, like Myra was saying, your 16-year-old girl, your 26-year-old self, your present self, your 66-year-old self, like that message is so important for each girl. Like right now is all you have. Absolutely. And when it's over, it's over.
Yeah.
You don't get to go back. So how do you just live in the moment now?
Has your writing changed while you're pregnant?
Not really. I mean, I wrote a whole novel sick, so.
Yeah. Sick. But I'm just wondering, you're emotional. There's there's a different kind of feeling inside.
Yeah, I think it probably will once I have, the only thing that's been, it's affected it because it's harder.
Yeah.
To do because I'm not quite as motivated. I'm like nesting and decorating the nursery and, packing my hospital bag, and I should be writing. But I'm like, but the cabinets need to be dusted on the top where nobody sees them because there's dust there. I never knew there was dust there for 7 years.
Right.
House, and now suddenly all
that nesting is really, really, and it's a real thing. It's a real thing.
And it makes you feel a little crazy. So, but I'm really excited to see how actually going through labor and having a baby and jumping back into writing, probably, 10 weeks after, so pretty quick after, will affect the way that I, emotionally connect to.
Do any of your siblings have kids?
No, I'm the first.
You're the first.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if that line continues to look like the Dekker side or your mother's side.
Yeah.
Or Daniel's family for that matter.
Exactly. Well, hopefully he has notoriously big, like 10-pound babies.
Oh my gosh.
So maybe not.
No. Hopefully it will not.
Maybe
but I remember that gratifying experience. It's kind of how that pain cuts off to so much pleasure.
Yeah.
Once that baby comes, I had like 14, 15 hours of induced labor.
Ooh.
The worst pain in the world.
Yeah.
But as soon as he got here, I forgot all about that.
Yeah.
It was just remarkable.
It's like there's aliens in your hands, and you're like,
it's kind of like, this little big thing, and you're not even mad at him, because it's kind of like, you're precious. You're just this bundle of joy, this blessing. So that crossover from expecting mother to becoming that mother was the joy that I felt. And I'm like you, Frankie, mine's 30 something, but he is on his own kind of thing. So he hasn't come back to the mommy thing. He says I baby him so much. So
that's okay. I remember, I remember saying to my son or my dad, I called my dad after I had the baby, and I said, now I understand why you love me so much.
Yeah.
Like this feeling of being a tigress or protection, this deep love, like I've never experienced that before.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can, if you haven't really been a parent.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing to, if you ever worry that you're not going to love your kid, you're going to love your kid.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm ready. I'm just ready for him to be here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I said that before.
Stand up. Let's see how big you are. Show the world, Rachelle Dekker.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Yeah. He's rocking.
You're a rock star.
Yes,
Here you saw it on FrankieSense and more.
There you saw it. The only interview who's asked me to stand up and show my belly. So that's
He's on TV already.
He's already famous.
Already famous. Ladies, Myra McKnight, Rachelle Dekker, thank you so very much for being my guest. Your book, tell everybody where they can get your book. It is called
Went Through Deep Waters.
Went Through Deep Waters.
Yep, and you can get it anywhere books are sold. So Barnes and Noble, Amazon,
It's a really good book. If you read her other 3 books, it's different and as good.
Yeah,
and I think you're getting better every time. Every book, I think you're just getting way better. So so excited! I can't wait for your next book to come out, and hopefully you'll come back and join me and
Of
tell us
course.
about it. And Jack will be in
Always.
your arms maybe during that interview.
Yes.
That'd be kind of fun. That'd be
Yes.
fun. And Myra, I'm so thrilled that you've done this reinvention, and it just says so much for women our age to say, you know what, we can still do things, and we can still reinvent, and you can teach an old dog new tricks, and
Absolutely.
you know what, it doesn't stop until we're dead. So keep
Absolutely.
on going.
Absolutely.
Keep on. That's for sure.
Keep
I
on
think-
going.
Enjoyed you, Rachel. Congratulations on all.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you as well.
Okay, good. Okay, ladies.
Take care. Facebook, goodbye. We will see you.
Bye-bye.